Hello, Alexis. Hello there. Come on in. It's Wednesday. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Anita. Come on in. Always. Hi there, Anita. Hello, Adrian. Come on in, everyone. We have some good stuff to cover today. So come on in. Why don't you type where you're from? It would be good to know where you guys are based out there. So type in where you're from. I'd love to know. Hello there. Come on in. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes since I started it a minute early. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Do I see Miss Bonnie Cotton out there too? Hello. Hi, you're Atlanta, Dallas, Columbus. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Hello, Cleveland. Cleveland in the house. Fairfield. Hi, Bonnie. Another special lady to me, Miss Bonnie Cotton. The best part of your week, Shirley? Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, you heard me speak at Ingram Micro's sales kickoff and loved it? Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thanks for joining, Shirley. All right. So, please, I see Dundee, Illinois. Hi, Charlotte. Welcome. So we're going to give it a couple of minutes to let people join. As you're joining, please type in where you're calling from. I would love to see where you guys are calling from. So hello, hello, welcome, welcome. I see we have a few more joining. New York City in the house. Hello, welcome. Yes, all right. So we're going to have people join us since I've got some great content for you guys today. I want to make sure that we allow enough time for me to cover the tips, and then I want to make sure, Seattle, Washington, welcome. And I want to make sure that we allow time for you to ask me questions. I would love to have some of you go live with me just so I can see your faces, and then you can ask your questions live. So be thinking about that after I go through the tips, because I'm going to just cover them at a high level. And today in our modern mentoring session, we are doing a conversation that was definitely a number of you asked for me to cover it, but I think we're all facing it. And it is, we're working in these highly matrixed environments. And the question is, how do you lead without authority? And I think there's a lot of content out there, but I've actually lived in this world for quite some time. So what I tried to do was to really deeply think about what are those strategies that I've used that have helped me? Where have I gotten it right and where have I gotten it wrong? Because on this call, it is so important to me that as we are having these authentic conversations about these different scenarios that we're in, that we talk about kind of strategies for getting it right, but we also recognize and acknowledge where we get it wrong, because I want you to be able to learn from the mistakes as well. And we've talked a lot about mistakes as we've talked about what we talk about, failing forward, making sure that as we make mistakes, we study them so that we don't have to make the same mistakes over again. And I've always heard, anytime you find yourself repeating the same mistake over again, that's the universe way of telling you you haven't gotten the lesson. So I really want to make sure that we spend some time today just talking about some strategies I've seen, and then we'll also talk about when I've gotten it wrong. And then I want to turn the floor over to you to ask me any questions that are on your mind. So welcome to our modern mentoring session. For those of you joining for the first time, so delighted to have you. We usually just have honest conversation here. I'm Lani Phillips. I tell everyone this was an experiment, and this experiment has now turned into something that you have said you want me to continue. So I'm going to Continue to do it, and we pick topics, and you help shape what those topics are every week. And I will tell you today, as I will tell anyone, when you stop showing up, I'll stop showing up. But as long as you're here and you are giving me topics that you want me to cover, I guarantee you I will commit myself to being here with you weekly to cover these topics. So I want to welcome you all. So let's jump right in. Today's topic is leading without authority. And I did a little bit of homework before joining you today to just make sure that I could use I love quotes. There's just something about quotes. And before I jump into my topic, let's talk about this. 1, there's a question mark with a bubble around it at the bottom of your screen. If you have a direct question for me, please put it in that bubble. It's a little hard for me to follow the screen at times. If you put it in that bubble, I will be able to pop the question up for everyone to see. In addition to, if you would like to come live and answer your question, just let me know. And when we get to the question and answer portion, I would love to have you come on live. To know me is I do really well with people face to face, and I actually miss that connection. So please be thinking about those questions that you want to ask me, and please place it in that bubble with the question mark. All right. So welcome to those that are joining, and come on in. We're about to get started. All right. So I love quotes. And the one thing that I want to stress to all of you is I don't care what level you are in your career. When it comes to learning how to navigate a matrixed environment, it impacts you no matter what level you are. And I want to share this quote. It says, "You can lead and influence others despite having no formal authority." And it actually speaks to the point where I tell people all the time, you lead right where you are. You don't have to have people that hard line into you to have a reporting relationship to lead. So please keep that in mind as you're thinking about the role that you play as a leader. We all can be leaders, whether we have those people report into us or not. And I love what John Maxwell says. He says, leadership is a choice you make rather than a place you sit. In other words, leadership comes from influence and not from your position. For this reason, even when you're not in front, you're still leading those around you. I'll read it one more time. Leadership is a choice you make rather than a place you sit. In other words, leadership comes from influence and not from your position. For this reason, even when you're not in front, you're still leading those around you. And it is so important that you understand that as we jump into these tips. So I'm going to try and address those of us who are working in a matrixed environment, and let me describe what that means. I want you to think to yourself, have I ever been a part of a team? Have you ever been a part of a team where you were there to solve a business problem, but the individuals on that team all had a different reporting manager? That's a matrixed environment. I have found myself, even in the role that I have across the U.S., as I think about my stakeholders and the people that I'm going to work with to help activate our partner ecosystem. We have those that report up through me, and then the ones that I'm actually leveraging in the field, they all have separate reporting structures. That even was the case when I at one time was building a U.S. team of specialists across the U.S. in our mid-market space. We had some resources that had a hard line into me, and I had some resources that reported in the field to various leaders, but they had a dotted line to me. So that means they felt like they probably had two leaders or two masters they were serving, or two bosses, however you want to look at it. But those are the situations that I'm speaking of. It's when you are part of solving a problem with a group of people and not everyone has the same reporting manager. And we're talking about what does it take to make those relationships work. You know, I did a lot of research on this to just support my experience. And the one piece that I saw missing was step number 1. I do believe it's important you build a relationship with the people that you're going to be working with. What does that mean? When I say build a relationship with them, it means understand what's important to them. You need to understand if they have interest, what they are outside the office, if they have family. People love to talk about their families. Where do they live? If they have any hobbies. Just get to know them. Understand how long they've worked for the company. What are those things? What roles have they had inside the company? Start to build that relationship by getting to know who they are. To me, that's the foundation. Because before you can start to solve problems together, you want to have a relationship with people so that you can get to understand who they are and what matters to them. Because everyone is different. The second thing I would say is you need to create alignment. What does that mean? Creating alignment to me is we sit down and we get clarity around what are our goals. Here's a trick though. You can find in some of these matrix environments, if you don't ask this question, it'll trip you up. You need to understand, how are they measured? How do they get measured in terms of if they're successful or not on the project or in their role or on this particular team? It's important to ask that question because sometimes I have found you may have competing goals. So that's why you want to make sure you get that clarity on that. And also get clarity on the expected outcomes. Because sometimes you may have one idea of what you want to accomplish and another person has another idea, and then you're always missing each other in conversations. So get that clarity up front. I also think it's important for you to be clear on roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do what? Some people go as far as to really define roles and responsibilities, leveraging RACIs. But I'm here to tell you, if you do not have a clear understanding of roles and responsibility, you may find that you're constantly stepping on each other, and you'll find that you're constantly hitting and missing. So I just think it's important to just make sure you have deep understanding and create that alignment up front. Now, once you've created that alignment, the thing that is going to be so important is to building the trust. And before you can build trust, you kind of have to have that relationship. You kind of have to create that alignment and understand what we're trying to do together, right? And who's responsible for what. And then it comes to creating trust. And when it comes to creating trust, I simply say it's when your words line up with your actions. You do what you say you're going to do. We agree on a set of actions that need to be taken, and you take the necessary action. That is so important in building trust. Also in building trust is they're going to want to know, do you have their best interest at heart? Or are you trying to put yourself in a position where you can one-up them, or you can position yourself over them so that it makes them look small and you look big? I think it is so important that you remember when you're in this position where we're all working for different leaders but working towards a common goal, that it is so important that everyone feels like that they're an equal member of the team. No one person is over another. We're all in it together, and that's why you want that alignment. But in that building the trust, it's really about making sure they understand that you're in it with them. And you're not in it to hold anything over their head or to try to minimize them so that you can lift yourself up. The other thing I would say is around you need to cultivate some momentum and you need to communicate progress. The reason you have to cultivate the momentum is as you are working towards your goals, it is so important that as you hit these little small milestones that you're talking about that momentum that you're starting to build. I also think it's important that you communicate. Sometimes that's verbal communication, sometimes that's written communication, but make sure when you are communicating the progress, you're giving the credit freely to the team. I have seen this one bite people in the bottom because they're so quick to want to be the first to send out that communication, to tell everyone about the progress because it makes them appear as though they're on top of everything, that they take all the credit and they minimize everyone on the team with them. You don't want to do that. It is the first, I will tell most people, you do that and you'll destroy trust immediately. And you'll find that it's difficult to get information out of people. People will not support you. They'll start to disengage, and you'll wonder why it's so tough to get people to move forward and move the project forward. So remember that. You want to cultivate momentum, and you want to celebrate those little milestones along the way, and you want to acknowledge them, and you want to make sure that you communicate progress. Now, I also think it's important, and this is the last one, I want to make sure that as you're celebrating those milestones, make sure you're giving people call out and credit. And let me talk about how this could look. In some cases, it might mean sending an email or placing a phone call to some of them's manager to acknowledge the great work that they've done. Or when you're sending written communication, you carbon copy the leaders of each one of the individuals that has helped. You make sure that they're copied on the communication. Don't always be the first one to have to send out the communication. Allow your V team to help support you on that as well. Not unless you're actually in a formal project manager position and they see you as the lead. Because on a lot of V teams, they don't necessarily have like one official lead. You're all working towards a goal together. They may have one person that's more senior, but you're kind of all on the same level working towards a goal. So those are some of the tips that have worked the best for me. But here's the secret tip that took me, and I've seen a lot of people struggle here. How do you build consensus when you don't have all the authority to drive consensus? For those of you, I should have said this earlier, get a piece of paper out on this one, because this is going to save you a lot of headaches. I remember working on a project once. I actually had a team. We were a national team, and well, I shouldn't say that. We were actually a corporate team, and we were going to build out a national stew. And I remember we had to have all specialist team unit, where we had all of our specialists for the sales business. These were product specialists. And I was asked, as the project lead, I had to gain consensus from all of the senior leaders in the business. And at the time, it was 10 of them. And the first mistake I made, let's talk about where I got it wrong. I thought I could bring them in a room, present the case, and get consensus that way. Pretty good moderating a conversation. I felt like we could get to consensus, and they all disagreed. So I said, okay, note to self. That didn't work, and that was time I will never get back. So what did I do the next time? I said, aha, I know how this is going to work, because I've built a relationship, right? I knew they trusted me at this point. And I knew we had some momentum, and they all wanted to do it. They just wanted to do it their own way. So how did I do it? I met with each one of them individually. That's the trick. Meet with them all individually. Make sure you gain alignment, and make sure we all understand what they need to get from the project, and let them know that you're looking to get their buy-in now, so that when we come together as a group, that we're all able to agree faster so we can move towards defining what we're going to do to roll out. So I went to each person, and then I came across one of the leaders that says, well, I'm supportive, but I needed a few more things that we didn't have covered. And I said, well, let me know what those things are, and let's work out what a proposed solution could be. So I went to each person, and I got each one of them to give me that soft, yep, I'm in alignment. And then I brought them all together again. And when I brought them all together again in the room, and I presented the proposal, and I said, we need consensus amongst the group. And we went down the line, and everyone agreed. That right there is going to save you some headaches. It is the secret sauce. It's where you build your consensus with each person individually before you bring them together in that room. It'll just save you so much time. So in a situation where you're leading without authority, the most important thing I can offer you is first, get to know people, build that relationship. The second one is what? To create alignment. The next one is to build trust. If you can't build trust if you don't have a relationship, you can't build trust if we don't have alignment on what we're trying to accomplish and who's doing what. From there, I want you to cultivate your momentum and communicate your progress. And then I want you to be generous with sharing all of the positive accolades and the progress that you're making with the team. And you will find that it will be so easy for you to navigate these environments. So I'm going to pause there. That works even with a board. Yes. It can work in any situation. Yes, Pamela. Amazing advice. So I'm going to pause here. I'm glad that you enjoyed that because I want to free up time for you to ask me questions. So for those of you who are just joining, welcome. Please put your questions. If you go to the bottom of the screen, there's a question mark in a bubble. If you put it there, I can answer it and put it on the screen for everyone to see. I also would love to have some of you come live and ask a question, and I'll be happy to do that as well. So just let me know, request that I invite you live. All right, it looks like Jessica would like to go live. Is that true, Jessica? Let's see. Wants to come live and say hi. All right, let's see. No Jessica yet.
I did.
She's still out there connecting?
I wasn't expecting you to put me on live.
Hi, I'm glad you did though. How are you? It's so good to see you.
I am good. Yeah, I was actually just summarizing. Is this okay? Yes, it is. I was just summarizing your tips like in a different way, and this is kind of how I've done it, or how I've been working on it, is just from a global perspective, is because most of the time I can't meet these people in person, and I don't know what they look like sometimes because I don't have the ability to do video, especially in a pandemic, due to wave and all of that, and then now as an account manager, just a much different thing. But it's really kind of identifying who are your allies. And then it's also identifying sometimes when you're an account manager, you're also an ally within that account and having to mitigate it and analyze within that account. So it's much different. And then clarifying goals and priorities. And then also seeing the world through their eyes, not just your eyes. So kind of walking in their shoes and kind of pivoting a little bit and assuming positive intent.
Yes.
So I think
that's powerful. That's powerful, Jessica, because you're talking about, first of all, congratulations as an account manager. You know, I've walked in those shoes. Here's what I would tell you. You've summarized it. You've got the tips that you need to be successful in that environment. The most powerful thing that you've got to have is you've got to have some empathy when you are working with any customer. Because if you don't put yourself in their shoes, a lot of people come in and all they can think about is what they have to sell. That's all they can think about.
Yeah.
And if you just pivot slightly to just ask the customer, what problems are they trying to solve? What's important to them? If you just invest that time and energy into them, they'll tell you everything you need to know so that you can then bring the right solution to them. So you're headed down the right path if you're doing that. It's hard in this virtual world to get to know people. So I will also tell you, as an account manager, if you're not able to see them in person, still treat it as though you see them in person. Try to have virtual coffee chats still. You'll be amazed at how many customers still like that, even though you may not be able to use your video.
Well, I'm doing COVID testing. So when I do see them, I see them in person, but I'm masked up and I'm in full PPE. But one of the other things I kind of would, I also treat my coworkers and my peers, they're a customer as well because they're coming to me
Mhm.
for different things and I'm going to them. And so it's still we treat each other as a customer because we're a customer of information. So
Yes,
it's not, it, we're each customers to each other. So it's
absolutely.
not just a commercial kind of thing. Um, it's just a different thing. And it's just a matter of who you see. So yes, we get to see customers and doing COVID testing and traveling around the world and doing it with, so people can watch television, is but the other piece kind of goes into is identifying what are their goals, what are their values
Mhm.
that are associated with it, and then focusing on that relationship.
Mhm.
And the pandemic has really kind of changed things as well. It's very different.
Right.
And then sometimes it's being able to pull them back and kind of able to focus them and just say, hey, has this changed? Do we need to kind of do a realignment?
Yeah.
Um,
It's important to be
because
able to acknowledge that because sometimes a realignment is necessary.
because it's a dynamic world. Things change day to day, especially in a pandemic. Um, Rules change. Um, you know, we go from, hey, we're in a lockdown today to, hey, tomorrow we're not.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so it's just a matter of being able to adjust
Yes.
and being adaptable as well.
Yeah. I like
And when
that.
people are in a panic, they really look to that calming demeanor. So,
Yes, yes. And you definitely have that. I've known you for years. Thanks
all
for
right.
coming live. That was I'm glad you got something from my tips, and it sounds like you even took it a step further. Someone gave you a shout out and said that they do it the same way with their internal peers and people they work with. They treat them like customers as well. So you're not alone. I think you have the right strategy. And I would call it a winning formula. Just keep working it, okay? It's so good to see you.
Yes, and I want to hear other people's great ideas as well.
Okay, well, let's see how many more we can get on tonight, okay?
Sounds great.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Now I got to figure out how to get you out of here. Hold on. Of course, my screen wants to act up. Hold on, y'all. Close ya. I got a few questions too. Hold on. Let me get you out of here, Jessica. Let me find another way to do it. Can you disconnect yourself? There you go. All right, there we go. Now it's working. Let's see here. Let's go to this question. Hello, Black Girl Tech Work. How do you navigate leading a new team when your team is noticeably a lot older in age than you? Oh, this is a tricky one, and I'll just kind of defer to the village to weigh in, which I call everyone out there the village. You know, first and foremost, age shouldn't matter, right? So if it's more with you, then I would just try to get you to deal with the confidence issue associated with that. I think you'll find as long as you are respectful, you think about the language that you use, I don't think it'll matter. The age won't get in the way unless you start thinking of, you got to be flexible. Let's give you some specific examples. Like, there are some people, if they're a younger generation, they prefer to use chat for everything and they don't want to pick up the phone. And you will find that there's a generational difference there. So if you're using chat to do that real quick communication and you're finding that the person you're trying to communicate with is not as quick on chat or instant message, then you need to stop and pick up the phone to call them. So I would just say to make sure that you are mindful of individuals preferences and styles, and make sure that you remain agile along the way. And I think you'll find that it won't get in the way. I think it's usually the ones that are stuck in their way of doing things and they're kind of judging everyone through that lens. For example, if you are someone that prefer to use the technology, like you rather use chat to communicate and you're doing everything in that environment and you're finding others are slow to adopt it and you're not willing to meet them where they're at, you'll probably find there's some resistance to you. And it's because they feel judged and they feel like you're not willing to meet them where they're at. So that would be the advice I would give you, is just make sure you build a relationship with the people, get to know them, what's important to them. We can leverage the same strategies we talked about, right? Even talk about how you like to communicate. And if you have a preference, then you need to make sure they have the skills. All right, because, or they need to make it a habit of looking there. I've had people that just don't make it a habit, especially in this virtual world when you're always on camera. To constantly watch chat or instant message sometimes can be difficult because it's hard to be in two different conversations at the same time. So let me pause there. Can you let me know if that helped you? I'll pause there, or if you want to go deeper on a scenario. Let me know if that worked for you, Black Girl Tech. I hope that helped. All right, I had another question, and then I'm going to see if anybody else wanted to go live. Let's talk about pivoting on an idea that comes from someone else versus going with your gut. What is the balance? Ooh, I'd love a little bit more on this. Olivia, would you be willing to go live so that I can ask more qualifying questions around this one? Request to go live and see if you're available. I don't care what you look like. I just want to talk to you. Very helpful. Okay, great. Black Girl Tech Work. All right, let's see. So let me see. So she hasn't asked to go live. Let's see. Hold on. No, that's not her. Okay, so let me try and answer it based on what what she's provided here. So what I see her asking for is someone has an idea. You pivoted on an idea that comes from someone else versus going with your gut. What is the balance? I'm not video ready. You never have to be video ready with me. I would tell you in this particular scenario, anytime you make a decision that kind of gets away from your gut, that's okay. It is important that you listen to the people around you. And it's not always, your ideas are not always the best ideas. So you have to be willing to try other people's strategies. And in this particular situation, I'm going to assume that it worked out or it didn't work out. I don't know which one it is. Maybe type that in for me, Olivia. In this particular situation, did it work out when you leveraged someone else's idea? Just type that out for me, Olivia. Let's do both scenarios. In this scenario where it worked out, then, you know, the rest is history, right? You go and you celebrate them, you say thank you for that, and then you move on. But what if it didn't work? One is you do what we've talked about in previous sessions, and that is you study it. Why didn't it work? What didn't work? What is it that we can kind of iterate on to make it a little bit better? And let's just adjust our approach. I have a tendency whenever I'm working against quick timelines, I trust my instinct. And I usually try to stick with my instinct versus going outside my instinct. But there are situations where you're working with a group of people and no one wants to work with the person that only takes their own ideas. So you're going to always have to make sure that you solicit input from others and you start to leverage those ideas. You guys heard me talk about think tanks. I just did a think tank with my organization. And we brought a number of problems that we were solving for, and we did these little mini think tanks. And they came up with solutions to the problem, and the feedback we got back was just overwhelmingly positive because they felt like, one, we were listening to them, they felt like their voice mattered. And we're not going to be able to try everything that they shared with us, but it's just the fact that they had a voice. And we were leveraging the ideas that they came up with together. I just think that's so important in a teaming environment, whether you have authority or not. So with the balance, as long as there's a team, I'd say always err on the side of going with the team. Okay, that would be my advice. I hope that helped you. And I do have a few more that want to go live. So let me go. Remy, let's see if I can get you to come on. And let me see if I can close this question out. There we go. Remy, you're going to be able to join. Oh, did Remy decline? Okay, let's see. Hold on, I had somebody trying to get on here. Hold on, it's still thinking. It's a little slow today. Here, let me go live. Colette, you want to go live? Did it work? Waiting for Colette. It's waiting. Let's see if she's able to join. So helpful. Great, Olivia. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Waiting for Colette. Colette, did you change your mind? Let's see if we got some more questions while I'm waiting here. All right. Let's get some more questions until. All right. How do I get the buy-in with my coworkers to achieve a common goal to help a customer? I think the way you get buy-in, it depends on how many coworkers we're talking about. I usually bring them in together, and then I make sure all voices are heard around what goals are we feel like we're working towards. Or if they've already been defined for us, then I would define the goals and then talk about ultimately what we're trying to do, how you're going to leverage everyone. And then you just kind of look to ask everyone, are they bought in? If they're not bought in, say, well, why are you dug in on this particular issue? And just create space to allow them to share what their concerns are. And then it's usually a resourcing issue. So then it's just a matter of getting clarity around what resources you'll be able to leverage. And most people want to know what role do they play, what's the time commitment, but that's usually how I approach it. And as long as the group is small enough, I would bring them together, I guess today in a virtual room, and just make sure that if those goals are defined for you, just clearly state them, and then talk about roles, responsibility, who's expected to do what. Make sure that everyone has what they need to get the buy-in. And if they have any concerns, make sure they get them on the table. And that is actually a good practice throughout your engagement with the team, to just check in. How are things going? What's working? What's not working? What are we hearing that concerns us that we need to address as a team? I think that's just the best way to handle it. And I just can't stress to you the importance of making everyone on the team feel valued and make sure that you allow their voices to be heard. It's really around really showing that inclusive leadership. And remember, we can lead even if people don't report to us. It's creating an inclusive environment. And that to me means everyone needs to feel like they are seen. They need to feel like they are heard, and they need to feel like they're valued. And whether they report to you or not, we can all show up that way. A great example of that is I actually had someone on the phone. We had a virtual call, and there was a lot of us on the phone. There was one particular person that always had a different opinion than the majority of the group. At times, people were dismissive of the feedback that this individual provided. I said, I can either choose to go with the majority, or I could step in and really be an ally for this individual. So I actually stopped the call in the moment and said, I'd like to come back to this person's comment. I think we should talk about it and give them the floor. I just think that is so important for all of us to practice that, because you don't need to have some certain title and have all of these people reporting to you to really be able to show up and be an ally for your coworkers, especially those that are using their voice and no one is acknowledging them. So I hope that helps you. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Hanako Photography. Send me a note and let me know if that answered your question. And it looks like Colette would like to come on now. Let's try that. You love the allyship? Awesome. Yes, that is something I actually just did, actually. And I actually did another meeting as a one-on-one to let them know that I appreciated the feedback that they provided, And we created the space to talk for about 45 minutes to talk through the issues and understand. I had an opportunity to understand their perspective deeper. They had an opportunity to understand my perspective deeper. And it's going to make us even better allies and support of one another when we get in those group settings. So I want to encourage you to do that. All right, now I accepted, but I'm not sure what's going on, Colette. I'm trying. Okay, now I'm going to try and go live with Instagram's acting up tonight. Okay, so it's connecting. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. That was helpful.
Yes, that was absolutely helpful. I struggle sometimes to find that I guess that buy-in with a lot of my coworkers. I also work for Microsoft as well, so I see that. And to your last week's, I wanted to follow up and say for your last week's session, it really struck to me that you said that I just don't want to be known for just being working at Microsoft. I want to be known for like who I really am. And like that, like it made me cry on the inside because I feel like that's the personal branding and that works with the buy-in as well. But I really wanted to ask you one thing. So I'm about to finish my degree in international business and working in IT for almost, I think, a decade. It's been a long, long time. What is the best way I can leverage my degree, right? Or some people say to get certifications. I'm sure you see it on LinkedIn all the time. They got Azure, Microsoft 365. The problem that I see with myself and being in IT is I don't want to be in a hole, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want to be categorized like, oh, he works for this company in IT. That's all he's good at. Like I speak 5 languages. I have like an amazing, thank you. And I've worked at my restaurant since I was 17. So I know how to run a business. Like I've and I've been doing it for so long, but I constantly find myself always, I feel like one step back than some of the younger people, right, that I see that are right out of college that are landing these customer success jobs and these IT jobs. And I feel like I don't have the right credentials, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. What do you think in your experience for a young person like me, for example, just, I've had, as I said, a decade of experience in IT. I'm not no IT manager. I just know my way around things. I'm very smart in computers, but I'm getting my degree in business. How can I leverage that in other IT companies or other companies that have business? What can I say to make myself stand out besides the fact that I work for Microsoft, for example?
I would say it's all in how you tell your story. And you've got to get really good at selling all of that value that you bring. And I'm not the best at really quick on the spot, but let's riff a little bit, okay? That's one of the things you get with me when I'm mentoring one-on-one. I'm like, let's try it. Let's try it, and let's see how it sounds. So you just told me you can speak 5 languages. That's a big deal. I also heard you say that you've run a restaurant, right?
Yes.
And you've done that for a while. Did you own the restaurant?
Yeah, so we had multiple restaurants as a family. We had an LLC. I don't manage it as much anymore because of my work schedule. Right after work, I'll attend University of Arizona, which is through our company. And I do that, then I study, then go to sleep. So I don't do it as much. But I've been doing.
But you got experience doing it.
I did since I was 17, and I did it for I think almost 10, 11 years. Like it's a long time, and I balance that between school.
And so I would tell you to think about what are the pieces of running the business that it taught you? What did it teach you?
It taught me time management. Time management was huge, like baking cookies, breads, attending customers, signing papers, like just random stuff that comes up in a restaurant. So time management was a big portion. And I actually use a lot of that in my current job right now, with the company. So it taught me that, and it taught me a lot of just patience. Patience is huge because there's different type of customers that come into a restaurant, and you can have that same customer come in from an IT company or, whatever company, they can have two different perspectives on who you are.
Mhm.
So usually I don't tell people where I work. I
You don't
like to
have
keep
to.
that a secret.
You
I
don't
know.
have
I
to.
like to keep that a secret. But ever since I saw your mentorship program that I think somebody shared on LinkedIn, I'm like, I really have to get to this program that I've been attending religiously.
Oh, I'm
But
so
I
glad to
just,
hear that.
yeah,
So I think you got to
yeah.
add the IT piece as well, okay?
Okay.
So bring all of that together since we only have a few minutes here. I would have you just think about all of those experiences. Have you balanced the books from a financial standpoint? Because then you may be able to say, I have experience with the P&L for your restaurant. You
Yes. Yeah, I do.
see where I'm
Yep.
going?
Yep. I know.
You got your
Yeah.
business experience. And so let me ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you
Yeah.
knew I had a job and I had an IT job and a business job, and you want me to consider you for the business job, what would you say to me to make me want to hire you?
The fact that I have again amazing time management skills. The fact that I'm a self starter and I'm motivated and I have experience in the business. I have experience in running a restaurant. I have experience in accounting. I have experience in setting up computers. Deploying whatever any IT needs you have. I have those skills. And if I don't have the answers, I will get you the answers because I'm just a book of knowledge. I think. And if your customers need help in 5 languages, I got you. And those languages I most likely speak, or I can figure out how to get those people in support. So that's what I would say. And you're right about the story portion too. So and that's the thing. Just it's just hard. I don't know. I have so many amazing stories, but I don't know what story to tell. But I feel like I should write it down and then rehearse the stories
You
and
have to.
maybe figure out which ones are best for which scenario.
Yeah, so here's how I might pivot what you just said. You're absolutely right. You got it
Okay.
right. Okay. Can you just help me on how to pronounce your first name so I don't disrespect
Oh,
it? Samar.
Samar. So that's my Instagram name for my photography channel.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I really do. And someone just gave you credit. I like your answer. Talent and attitude, from my point of view, make a huge difference. They're absolutely correct. So
right.
let's flip the script a little bit. I'm going to be Samar, okay? And you're going to
Okay.
be Lani. And I'm going to be, how would I start it? Because I'm just ripping here. Hi, Lani. My name is Samar. I just completed my international business degree, and I have 17 years in business. I also speak 5 languages, and I understand the technology. I am, I really would love to compete for the business role because I feel like I can bring the most value there. Some of the things that I've learned, and then I would probably spit out the things that I've learned. But I would be super pointy about what you've done, what you've accomplished, and what you want right up at this,
Okay.
and be
Okay.
really tight so they can, because if you get lost in the story, what happens is people tune you out.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So you got to be right to the point at the beginning. I'm Samar, just completed my international business degree, right?
Hmm.
I've got 17 years experience running my own business with family business. You can just say running a family business. And I speak 5 languages. And I also have a deep understanding of the technology. Already right there.
Perfect.
Already right there. It's a drop the mic. It's like, okay, I need to continue this conversation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That
Does that
sounds
make
much better.
So just lead
Yes.
with that. Just lead with the strengths up front and then maybe tell the stories a little bit after that. And look at the chat. It looks like some people are showing you some love out there and support. Here's the other thing I would tell you,
Yes. Yeah.
Tamar. Please write it down. And
Yes.
please practice. And if you're going to do it virtually, I want you to pull out your camera, your phone camera, and I want you to hit record. And I want you to look at your facial expressions. If you're going to do this virtually over a camera, I need you to look at your facial expressions. I need you to listen for how many times you say the word filler words. I need to get that out of your vocabulary because people will tune you out if you use too many of those as well. So really nail your pitch. Nail why you. right at the start. I hope
Awesome.
that helps.
Yes, that helps. Yes, that's amazing. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining. I appreciate
Of
you.
course. Right.
All right, let me see if this time I can close it. You close it on your end? For some reason, it's not
Yeah, I think
responding
so.
today.
I think so. Let me.
Okay, thank you. Because it's not responding on my side. All right, now, do I have some more questions out here I need to answer? All right, let's try this one. Corrected. Tips for leading with you're the only point of contact, woman, etc. on the team. How do you advocate for yourself so you can, how do you advocate for yourself? How do you advocate for yourself so you can lead well? Corrected. Tips for leading with you are the only. POC, is that point of contact? Tell me what that is, Olivia. You're the only woman, etc. on the team. How do you advocate for yourself so you can? You know, the biggest thing I tell people for advocating for yourself, a lot of people see it as boasting and bragging, and you've got to become one of the best at telling, person of color, please, thank you so much. You really have to be the best at being able to articulate the value that you bring and the accomplishments that you've achieved. And I have found that this strategy works best for me. Whenever you are preparing for a one-on-one with your manager, usually the manager lets you own the agenda. So what you can do as a part of one of the items on the agenda is let them know that you're working on this, making sure that you articulate exactly what you've accomplished in your job, and you want to do it in a way that can be received. So I would write down what you see as your accomplishments. Don't write down activities. Let me tell you the difference. An activity is, I made this many phone calls. I went on X number of virtual customer calls. I'm just coming up with something random. I sent this many emails. That's just a bunch of activities. What was the outcome as a result of those activities? And I would focus telling my story associated with the outcomes. And if you are in an environment, because I don't know your environment and industry that you're in, and activities are what they value, then try to quantify them in a way in which it's more meaningful. I hope that is helpful. Let me know through your response if that was helpful. All right, so make sure you focus on the outcomes. All right, let's see. I think I got that one already. I already did that one. So, do we have any more questions out there? Hi, Roxy. I see a few people out there. Hi. So, anything else top of mind for you guys today? I also want to say, because I know we only have 8 minutes, and you know I'm keeping this to an hour because I still have quite a few things to get off my plate this evening as we end our day and start tomorrow. I have decided that I am going to move to the LinkedIn Live platform because it does allow for me to be able to invite more people on, because I would love to invite some key people in my network that can also share with you and answer your questions. So I will be moving everything over to LinkedIn Live, so expect to hear more about that. I would love to simulcast. So we are going to look at how to make that happen. It would right now, if I stay on this LinkedIn Live platform, it will require me to run it separately from the LinkedIn Live. I will try that at least for one session to see how it goes, but it will be tricky for me to invite you on live on Instagram and they won't be able to see you on LinkedIn Live. So we'll have to play, you know me, I'm a student, I'm learning. As you guys know, I'm trying something different. My heart's in the right place, which is just to be here to answer your questions and help you on your journey. but I am definitely going to move over to LinkedIn Live. All right, and for those of you that are in the Texas area, I want you to know that you're in our thoughts and prayers. I know you've had to go through a lot. Some of you are seeing temperatures you've never experienced in your life. I hope you guys are surviving it and you have the support you need. I've heard horror stories like power rolling, like you have power for 45 minutes and then it rolls out. And I've heard people talking about their pipes have burst or they're not able to use their plumbing. And so they've had to figure out where they're going to go just to use the restroom or take showers. So I know you are going through quite a bit. And I just want you to know our thoughts and prayers are with you. All right. So let's see. I'm going to leave it open. Any more questions on the topic? We all know what somebody says, thank you. Our power is back finally. Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Yep. All right. Any more questions for me on the topic? I'm going to go ahead and summarize for those of you that joined us late. To actually really lead without authority, we talked about a few key things. One, it's to build a relationship with the individuals. Two, it's to create alignment to make sure we all understand the goals, the expected outcomes, roles, and responsibilities. We need to build trust, and building trust means our words are in alignment with our actions. We need to make sure that the people that we're working with feel like we've got their back and that we're in it with them. We also want to make sure that we cultivate momentum and make sure that we communicate our progress and make sure that we celebrate generously all the people that we're working with. And remember the extra tip that I share with you all around building consensus. A lot of people struggle with the building consensus when they don't have authority. And I shared with you a tip that was hard fought and learned, but it works like a charm. And that is you have to meet with each person to gain that consensus individually, then bring them together and you'll find that you'll have the buy-in that you need. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining tonight. And please feel free to continue to send me what topics you would like for me to cover next week. I would love, love, love to talk about whatever is top of mind for you. And if I don't have the answer, I'll find someone who has the answer and we'll bring it to you. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I can't tell you, this is really the highlight of the week for me to come to you. I've got a lot of hard, heavy stuff going on right now in the business. So I must tell you, I've enjoyed being here with all of you tonight. So I will let you go and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. And it says, when do you need the topics? Can you just start sending them now? I try to make my decision on Sunday. We had a holiday week this week, so I did take it till Monday to make my final decision, but just go ahead and send me what topics you'd like to see me cover. Right now, if I see there's a majority, I tend to go in that area. This one was another majority topic. But I also may do an Ask Lani Anything because I do have a lot of questions that I was thinking about typing individual responses to, but I may just choose to cover it on here as well. All right. Good night, everyone. And I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Take care.